Make sure your phones are all on silent. And we rise and face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Repeat after me. Allah. The Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Through Ali.
Through Ali.
Amen. So now we're back at the center. We're going to read Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Salvation, Allah, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheik and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government. Because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government, you must live the life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. We are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to the slaves by the slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, the founder. The Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, Chicago, Illinois. U period, capital S period, capital A period. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Islam, Moors. So we've read the laws as instructed by our holy prophet. Open the meeting accordingly. And you want to go ahead and read that? Page 14.
Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet Noble, This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. I want to thank everybody for coming out. As usual, we always appreciate everybody coming out to see us, and we enjoy seeing everybody. I want to open up. I want to rise, giving praise to Allah, the Almighty, and I rise, giving praise, giving honor to the first Supreme Grand Sheik, all the way down to our present Supreme Grand Sheik, Ibeliel. And as usual, when we start off, I ask people, do they have any particular questions? Because this is a class, it's not actual where we got to follow a particular format where I got to talk and you just listen. It's actually an engagement, an exchange of thoughts so that we can learn from each other. So is there any questions before we get started? Because we can go on whatever topic that needs to be addressed. Anybody? Islam, go ahead.
Asking for a friend, just in case they are screaming. But
You asking for a friend?
no, one that's online.
All right.
But no, I was gonna say, could y'all verify the meaning of the 2 on the right, 5 on the left?
Okay. Handle that.
For those that don't know.
I have to. Mm-hmm. So the 5 on the left, 2 that fell. So we talk about the 5 that fell. So there were 5 things that were up. It tells you in the front, the Quran. 5 fell and 2 remained. And the 2 that it's in the first chapter. But the 2 remained because their will was in 2 of Allah. So 2 remained. So that's why there's 5 on the left and 2 on the right.
So that would be right in chapter 1. Any other questions? Okay, well, we'll get started. Today, the topics are vanity and purity. So with vanity, who has a general idea what vanity is? Anybody? Just
Arrogance.
Arrogance. Anybody else?
Negative.
Negative, yeah. Vanity, negative, arrogance. Y'all always start off slow. Then when it's time to go, y'all got, of course, come on with it. So you got to have some idea or concept as to what vanity is. I guess you can see it could be that. It could be stupidity, definitely. Anybody else?
Islam, Christian, what do you think of vanity? What would vanity mean? What's something that's vain? It's just plain wrong. Let's get you a little help with that. So let's picture yourself, you're in the bathroom in the morning, you get yourself ready. What's that thing that you stand around called? A vanity, right? And what do you do when you're in front of the vanity?
Look at yourself.
You gloat at yourself, get your hair right. You get your makeup right, you look at yourself. The mirror is supposed to actually be for self-examination, not to get yourself in such a manner, but they call it a vanity because you look at, oh, I look good, I look great, I look fine. And when I hit the street, they're going to say, whoa, right? That's what we do before we leave the house. Now, in some cultures, when someone passes, they cover those mirrors and those things in those houses, right? Because you're not supposed to be focusing on that at that moment. You're supposed to be focusing on everything you're going through and is my brother and sister okay, or is someone in adversity? So vanity is when we look at something that's about you, but it's in a total different sense of checking out self. You worry about your outward appearance instead of what's important, which is your internal. Islam.
So did anybody look it up while he was doing that? Islam. Go ahead, sister.
Islam.
Foolish pride.
Foolish pride. We looked at the foolish pride. And if we do the etymology of the word, it gives us even more definitions. We have worthlessness, worthless, lack of resolve, emptiness, foolish pride, false. So it's a false thing. Like the brother said, you're just looking in the mirror, you're missing the point because you're just seeing yourself. So that is the definition. Now we're going to have a reading here out of chapter, wait a minute.
Oh, in regards to that chapter on vanity?
No, it's not on the chapter on that.
Oh.
It's on chapter 40, XL. You know, chapter XL.
Extra large.
We got that. Right. We got extra large jumping on. So if you wear a small, you might want to get out of here today. Right. We started right off with extra large and we're moving up. Wow. So we got the first sentence, right? Has anybody got it yet? We're gonna read the first one. Who wanna read that? First verse, go ahead.
Inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance swayeth it whither it will. Despair engrosseth much of it, and fear proclaimeth. Behold, I sit unrivaled therein, but vanity is beyond them all.
So what is the it? It's saying inconstancy is powerful in the heart of man. Intemperance sways it, whether it will. Despair engrosses much of it. What is it? Islam. It's the heart of man. So that's what we're talking about. And what is the heart? Where's the heart of man? Right, it's up here. So in this heart of man, he's saying that his inconstancy is powerful. You know, and it's saying intemperance, which is the lack of restraint, basically is intemperance. So I don't think we went over that one before. But it's swaying it whether it will. So just out there. And then despair engrosses much of it. So the sadness is the rest of the time in the mind of men, right? It says, and fear proclaimeth, behold, I sit unrivaled therein. So we fearful, swaying all over the place, and don't have any restraint on ourselves. That's the mind of men. So it said they fear, but fear said it sits unrivaled, afraid of everything. As soon as we see something we afraid of, we start shooting. We want to fight. We want to run. You know, these are the things that we have going on. But he said, but vanity is beyond all of them. He said, vanity is beyond all of them. So the lack of resolve, foolishness, foolish pride, and worthlessness is above all of these things. This vanity is above all of these things. So when we go, now we go to chapter 3, we're going to go to chapter 3, verse 12. That's when it's going to really start opening up. All right. We in chapter 3? Everybody here?
That's 111.
All right. So chapter 3, verse 12. It says that the lower self is rich in promise, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. So the lower self, which is rich in promises, is giving you all of these things. It's saying that you can do this, you can do that, you can ride here, you can get those, 26s. You get those. You can do all. It's got these things. All of these is our lower self. So where does our vanity operate out of?
Lower self.
Right, out of our lower self. So that's why it's vain. That's why it has a worthless value, that vanity does. Because it promotes a falsehood. Islam?
Also, let me jump in there for a second. So we know that vanity is operating out of the lower self. What is that lower self making sway? I told you in here in the chapter that we just went before we came to 3. What is it causing to sway? What is the lower self making sway? Your resolve is where? It's in the heart of what? It's in the heart, right? So what is the lower self making sway? It's giving you temperance. It's giving you a heart. It's giving you falsehood to make this sway. I thought I was supposed to be. Isn't that how people start a sentence? I thought I was okay in doing that. No, you didn't.
I feel like.
I feel like I should have just been able to do this like that.
Right.
Really? I went and took a thing out of my neighbor's garden because I was hungry. Did you ask him? I felt like he would have said yeah.
That's the vanity.
That's that vanity.
So now we go on down to 14, and it says, if you ask me what to study, I would say yourselves, and you will have studied them, and then would ask me what to study next, I would reply yourselves. So the studying your vanity is not only mentioned one time, but twice. You study yourself. You have to study yourself. So vanity is one of the things that you really need to study about yourself. What are you vain about? What are the things that you have vain concepts, ideals, or desires and wants? What are the vain desires that you have? Because it won't work for me to tell you what your vanities are. Because you're the one that's not committed to those things. You're the one that's being driven by those things if they're vain. It is just our job as missionaries. It's our job to help, to assist the brother that's vain, sister that's vain. I gotta get like you'll see a lot of vanity when you're dealing with stuff like Christmas. People feel like I gotta go get Christmas gifts for my kids. If I don't, then I'm gonna be a bad parent. See, that would be vanity. Christmas don't exist for real, and you know it. And you just trying to keep up with the rest of the people and what they doing. But you know that every one of your parents and mine ain't no Santa Claus. You see, but they all participate in it. So that would be vanity. So you have to look at what vain things are you infusing into the heart of your children. What vain things are you fusing into their minds that they're gonna spend all their time wasting their time on something like Christmas, or get upset with as they get older? They get upset with their friend or something because they didn't get a Valentine's Day gift or something crazy. So these are the things that we create that's vanity that we move forward with.
Islam. And then what happens as you get a gift as you get older and older? So does the gift when you were 4 years old measure up to the gift when you become 16? When you become 16, what's the gift you want?
Car.
I want a car, right? Do we see those shows where kids get $50,000 cars and $25,000 cars? And at what point does that not become enough? Now what happens when they become 21? What is it that they want? Liquor and a bigger car, right? You're right. So now vanity has been infused in them, not only at this level, each time it's going to progress and it's going to step up. They said the vanity was above all else. So now each time it's a level up, level up. When you were 4 years old, you open the gift and you be content to play inside the box. Right? Islam.
Yeah. So now we say that to vanity so that we can shape a picture, so that we can see that all of us are walking around with this vanity. It's bigger than all the things, even our fears. Vanity is bigger than even our fears. I may be afraid to do something, But if it involves my vanity, like I said, I may be afraid of being broke. But because I'm so vain, I still go buy the Christmas gift. And I'm paying for Christmas gifts all the way up into February, trying to keep up. They're ready to kick me out the house. I'm about to lose my house. Why? Because I was so vain that the fear of being kicked out of my house was superseded by my vanity alone. You understand? That's how subtle vanity is. People rarely speak about vanity. The person got a car. When you think about it, it's actually praised. When we see somebody on TV or we watch a video, he got money, he just throwing it away, he tossing it, I'm this, I'm that, he throwing that money. How vain can you be? You see? And it's praised. And man, I gotta get me some money like that so I can throw it. Huh?
Do you think that's because for a lot of people there's a distorted view of what vanity actually is?
Most definitely. Most definitely. People, we don't know what vanity looks like because it's been entrenched in us for so long, we don't see it for what it is. And plus, nobody really wants to talk about it because it's bigger even than our fear. It's bigger than even our fear. So you're saying to yourself that everybody's walking around afraid of something, right? You said, but how many people tell you what they're afraid of? Not many. I mean, I do. I say, like I don't like to go to scary movies. Why? It scares me. Well, I want to go there. I don't want to go there. Right. I didn't know if y'all was a movie or not. But
why do we do it at the same time?
Y'all got issues. In any event, go ahead.
But Islam, so he talked about vanity, and his concept of what he just told me what vanity was. I was sitting there scratching my head. I thought that was the definition of making it. When you had money, you could just throw it in cars. Right. And you didn't worry about. I got 27 cars. I thought that was making it.
Right.
So you gave me a distorted view, or is vanity a distorted view?
No, vanity is the truth.
Oh, okay.
Vanity is the truth.
Okay.
And what we see is all of the definitions, as we've been learning the last few weeks, the definition to these words is we found out about a missionary. We found out about that. We found out what religious mean. So we found all the definitions to these words. Vanity is another one. You say, oh, you're so vain, and it's funny. But it's not. Vanity is a serious problem in our society today. It's serious because you have kids and they go, I couldn't go to school. Why? Because I didn't have the new Jordans. And the parent is in agreement saying, yeah, or they go, well, I had to, I wasn't happy. So I divorced my husband. I wasn't happy. I divorced my wife. Well, you got 4 kids. What about that? No, well, it's about me. I need to be happy or they ain't going to be happy. What? Oh, so now you can make happiness and unhappiness. You're probably making each other's life unhappy. Still, you can make each other's life happy. So it's vanity that causes us to split away from our families. It's vanity in our society, the acceptance of vanities that allows us to continue to do things that we know don't even make sense. It don't make sense for us to not respect one another. It don't make sense for us not to help each other. But in our society, we say vanity is, it's okay. It's okay to not help that man. I'm trying to get my own. That's acceptable. In a lot of societies, that's unacceptable. They'll run you off. If you get to talking about I, they say something wrong with you. In a lot of other cultures, they think something's wrong with you. If you speak about yourself all the time. And I'm trying to get mine. But what about us? What about the kids? What about the kids that's coming after them? You see? So so we have to see vanity for what it is. Now this moves us to a particular point. Now there's words. When I say spoken word, what's coming to mind? People say there's power, right? There's power in the spoken word, right? So we think that and we say, okay, well the words that we use are going to be the words that's going to move us forward or make a greater understanding or overstanding of something. So when I say a spoken word to somebody, then they expect something. Now, if you're speaking to me and I'm always lying to you, how does my word affect you? You expect a lie. And guess what? In our society today, it's okay. It's okay to lie to me. It's okay for me to lie to you. You know that I'm lying and you keep smiling. It's politics. You know, I know good and time well you just lied to me. And you still smile and go in and talk to me tomorrow and I talk back to you. There's no shame connected to our vanity. There's no shame connected to our vanity because everybody wants to protect everybody else. So it's okay to lie. It's even okay for us to lie to our children. Go to sleep. Santa Claus is going to be here tomorrow. It's okay to lie. The fairy godmother going to come. Is it fairy godmother? Or what is it? The tooth fairy. The tooth fairy going to come. How did y'all know tooth fairy? I said fairy godmother. That's it. Oh. So they're gonna come and put that under your pillow. They're gonna put money under your pillow and take your tooth. You know, which was a terrifying thought to me actually as a child. Somebody's gonna sneak in here while I'm asleep. So I'm kind of up in the corner. But in any event, all of these are lies, but it's promoted and accepted because of our vanity. They say, okay, it's nothing but a little lie. I don't want to say to you, why would you lie to that baby like that? Well, it's okay. I don't want to put you out there. I don't want to say it seems inappropriate for me to do that. But in actuality, that vanity is the beginning of a downward spiral for our society and for our people.
Islam. So that's a huge part of when he just went to the whole thing about the tooth fairy. So our conduct is supposed to be straight by three things, right? Our words, our actions, and our deeds. So if we have a bad thought, right, and that thought was impure, then we took an action, okay, we're going to hide this under the pillow, and then you're going to come and somebody, so our words, actions, and our deeds are all incorrect in that same event. That's even to a lower level than anything else we can comprehend. Our words, actions, and our deeds are supposed to be our conduct. The prophet told us to lace up our boots of conduct. That doesn't sound like conduct that's laced up. Islam.
So if you go to chapter 2, verse 18, chapter 2, 18, which is right up your alley.
Right up my alley too. Right up page up. Yeah, I can figure that out. 18. Is everybody there? Now it says here that teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. So what happened? What Islam? Chris?
Tore himself away.
Right, but how did he do this?
Yeah, three things we just talked about. Vanity. So the words, actions, and deeds.
He said through carnal thoughts and words and deeds. Carnal thoughts. Now, what's the difference between thought and carnal thought? Because obviously there's a difference because it's explained here that it was carnal thought. Islam.
Carnal thoughts reside in the lower self. With all those promises, a thought simply is. It comes from the spirit. It exists all the time.
Islam.
A carnal thought comes from that thing that we think we want or that's driving our desires.
So
Islam. Said carnal thought. Anybody know what carne asada is? It's steak. So
where does it come from?
So where does that? So that thought is made in a way to save the what?
Flesh.
To save the flesh. So that thought is made to save your flesh. So we can't say that because we don't hear it, but they say save you. That's where we're going with this.
Carnal mind is enmity against God.
So say it again, sister.
Carnal mind is enmity against God.
Enmity, hatred.
So right. So Allah and man are one by the thought. So man was a thought of Allah. And man himself has his thoughts. But his thoughts now have changed and debased him because he's worried about how to save this flesh. Right? Everybody wants to follow you, right? Islam.
So when you have a carnal thought, now carnal is a thing that did not exist as an essence of something. It didn't come from what Allah brought into existence. It was a creation after it became manifest. So carnal did not come with us from the soul plane. It only exists here because we started doing things that created another nature. So that's how carnal things began. So a carnal thought, is like the sister said, is the lower self. So a thought is truth. Carnal thought is a lie. It is not the truth. It is naught. So when we speak of naught, we're speaking of something that's going to pass away. The body is naught. It's going to pass away. But the spirit is ought. It will always be. Islam? So when we have a carnal thought, then we know that we're dealing with these things that's going to pass away. So it says here that when we start thinking carnal thoughts and we have words and deeds. Now our words are carnal, supporting the carnal thought, then we're going to keep building up this lower self. And our deeds are the deeds that are come from carnal thought, then we keep building up the lower self with these deeds that we're doing. So thus we end up with $2 million, $10 million, $15 million, $100 million, $200 million, $1 billion. Because we functioning out of the lower self. This is the vanity. So vanity is entrenched in us by the carnal thoughts in our lower self.
Islam.
Islam? Hold on.
What?
Anybody got any questions? Like if it's not making clarity, because this is where this is coming from. When he says study yourself, why is you studying yourself? Because you know that the biggest problem you got is vanity. But it's not. What does it mean?
Study yourself.
Study yourself, meaning your lower self and your higher self. What makes it tick? What makes you who you are? What are you? Are you flesh and bone, or are you a spirit of Allah, a thought? Right? So the thought is the truth. So you have to distinguish what thought is what. So if I say it's a carnal thought, that leads me to believe that this is on a physical plane and that's what's going on. It's an after effect of something. A carnal thought is. A thought, period, is the truth. That's the only thought.
There's a meditation type of exercise that you can do, and it involves looking at the mirror. So you look at the mirror, you take 3 slow, deep breaths, and you let the thoughts come into your head about what you see when you're looking into the mirror. I warn you, it can be scary and it can be upsetting seeing what you see, but in order to examine yourself, you have to actually examine yourself. So what do you see? Not just, do I see my eyes, all those other things that pop into your head. Do you see, ooh, I need to shave. I need my eyebrows done. Oh, I wish this looked like this. Tomorrow I'm gonna wear this. What are those things that come into your head when you're looking in the mirror and examining yourself?
And I'm going to caution everyone about doing that exercise. Wait for, don't do this. It's not as simple as it seems. And the mirror has more, I don't want to say more, it's more than just a reflective thing. So you don't want to start using it during meditation time if you're not prepared for it. You really got to get a lot stronger, because you can lose yourself in the mirror, so to speak. So I caution. Right. So we want to don't use the mirror. You're not ready for the mirror.
That's a very high degree.
We want to
not do that.
Right. So we just want to caution you against that one. You know, if you have any more questions, you can talk to the sister about it, and she can ascertain if you're ready for that meditation and how to go about it and why. So we found that the thought and the word and deed is the action of doing some things, correct? Now, if we continue on, we have spoken words. Now we have unspoken words, right? Now, what are they? What are unspoken words? Thoughts. Somebody said it. Thoughts. So we got unspoken words that are thoughts. You know, so if we move to chapter 2, where we at, to verse 25. We're just going right down to verse 25, right? Are we there?
I'm there. Read it.
Yep, read it.
This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love. But not a word is lost, for in the book of Allah's remembrance, a registry is made of every thought and word and deed.
So every thought and word and deed. Say, if you didn't speak it, it's still a record being kept of it. So There is power in carnal life that needs to be spoken with the word. It causes things to occur. However, even the thought that's not spoken is still kept a registry of it. So it still has merit. Whether you meaning to think it or not meaning to think it is irrelevant. It still has merit. So this is why we have to purify ourselves. So if you think nothing is wrong with you because nobody else heard those thoughts, then you're wrong. It has an effect on you. And it's in a record of it is being kept by you. So you have to be aware of those facts. You have to be aware of the fact that even the unspoken word, if it's harsh or mean or whatever, all of these things are vanities. All of these things are vanities, and we have to be aware of them in order to see. So you can see what the brother said here. It says that every thought and word and deed, he said, is remembrance, a registry is made of every thought and word and deed. So every one of your thoughts. So if we say, well, I'm not that bad, I'm not this, we just being vain. We don't want to accept the vanity that I'm just as bad as you. I may not have said it, I may not act like you, but I thought those thoughts that you thought. Islam, you thought the thoughts that I thought. Have you ever thought about just punching somebody in the face? They sitting there talking to you, just thinking, I just want to, ooh, you know what I'm saying? I know you thought that, I thought that, you know? Now some people go, I don't think stuff like that. I don't do stuff. See, you vain because you thinking that's because you don't voice that out. Is the word is not spoken, that it does not have an effect. But it does have an effect. Because we are spirit. The thought is the truth. Islam?
Some of you, I've seen your eyes glaze, and you kind of, all right? There's a word for that. There's actually a term for that. Somebody got Google or something. Find me some Google. There's a word called the Akashic Record, AKA SHIC. Sometimes they put a K on the end. Okay? So what he's talking about is those words and those things are actually recorded in the ether. And when you're spiritually in line, you can read the ether. And that, it'll scroll like a book. It's there. Somebody read it. Somebody Google it. Read me the definition if you can find it on the internet. It's not all. AKA SHIC. Or AKA SHICK. Sometimes you'll find it. Called the Akashic Record. May not be able to find it on Google. You might have to go to Yahoo.
Islam, you can find it, but the one that's popping up on Google, I'm not so sure we should have that conversation in this class.
We had to temper some of these things. We got, because it's a span of
that one is bigger than the mirror exercise. I'm not so sure we should have.
One is Enhil Safi and Apple Safi, whatever it's Akashic records are a compendium of all human events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent, ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future.
That's exactly it.
So yeah, it's just a record of everything that's being done. Your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, which is what we was talking about. Now, as far as the vanity is concerned, now, did anybody get anything out of the vanity part? Anybody recognize anything about themselves with the vanity? Were you able to expose anything? Because that's the purpose of this talk, is for you to be able to identify and expose your vanity. Because if you do not expose it, then it won't work for you. Which is why there is a process to you becoming better, being a better you. For instance, when I've done something and I want to get forgiveness for what I've done, I have to say what it is that I've done. If I just keep it to myself, it don't work well on my exterior. If I keep it to myself, so there's a history of Catholics. They go in and you give a confession to the guy, because confession is actually good for your soul, and you need to hear it. That's where that came from. Now it's not necessary for me to say it to him, but it's necessary for me to say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? I did this thing, and it caused this. You know, I stole that money from her, and now she's kicked out her house because I stole that money. You have to say it to yourself. And I'm asking you, Allah, for forgiveness. You have to say that. No, I just want forgiveness. For what? I just want to be forgiven. Yeah, it's 1,000 things. What do you want forgiveness for? Say it. When you look at the apartheid in South Africa, they had these tribunals. They had to deal with people for these crimes that they committed against those people. So they had tribunals that went on. And the people would have to come up and say what they would do. It would be a group of people like this sitting, and it'd be a judge, and it'd be the person that committed the crime against them. And the person would have to say, you know, the person would get up and say, you shot my sister. Now she crippled. She can't think. She just sitting there, and you caused her to not be able to have kids and all these other things. And the other person would get up and say, you cut off my brother's hand, and now he can't make a living, and I got to feel him. And they crying, and it's sad. And the person has to sit there and listen to what the other people are saying to him that he done that's wrong. Then he has to apologize for what he's done. And it seemed like it don't work. But after about 4 or 5 people get up, oh, it cuts right into the soul to whoever up there. Okay, how hard you is. It's gonna cut in there. And all of the people get it out, and you can make an atonement for it. Like when you seen the did you see the guy that was
Olympics.
The Olympics.
The Olympic.
Right. And the people kept coming in talking. He came back to the judges after about 15 people and said, can we just forego this? We get the point that they said that, but I can't take no more of this. And the judge said, you're going to take every bit of it. Every one of them going to get a chance to speak, because he didn't want to hear it. See, he didn't want to hear that. He didn't want to hear what he done. So if we're not going to tell each other what they done and how it affects us, then it's not going to be helping the person because of their vanity. If you don't say what you done and how you hurt me, it doesn't help you because of your vanity. You have to be willing to hear it and willing to say it. Islam? So we want to be clear. So is there anybody got anything else? Any questions on vanity? Because you have to be able to expose your vanity. Even when you pray, you got to understand that vanity is the chief issue that we have at hand. It sits over top of everything. We so vain, we don't even know it sometimes because nobody wants to talk about it, right? So we want to say, if we say to our child, did you just do that? You want your child to say what they done. How does that affect me when you did that? Did you know that hurt my feelings? And now I feel like crying. Did you say that to the child? Why would you want to do that? And then the child can respond to you. But if it's the other way, you know you ain't got no business doing that. Go over there and sit down. Nothing happened. You didn't make any progress. They're just not doing it now because you was yelling. But vanity is going to creep in. So we want to make sure they on the right path. So we want to say to them what it is they've done. And you want to say to them, what did it do to me? Islam? So that's vanity. Now we moving on, unless somebody got something else on vanity. Moving on to the second topic because we're running short on time. The second topic is purity. Hey. Purity. Who got something on purity? What's the definition then? Anybody got, what's your definition of purity? Sister in the back. Clean. Anybody else? Definition. Brother on the end, what's your definition?
My daughter know how to spell pure. Spell pure and I.
Islam. Good job.
I think that's my definition right there. My daughter's purity for me.
Pure. Point taken. Point taken very well. Anybody else? What you say? You got a sister go first.
Closer. Your actions, but in the sense that it's closer to God.
Closer to God. Purity. Okay. What you say, brother? Untainted. That's a acceptable one all the way across the board. If something is untainted, it's not diluted. It doesn't have some other things in it. Like gold, they usually add something to it to keep it hard, you know, but when you take the substance out, then it's just pure gold. There's no other elements in it. So purity is without foulness. Islam? So now we're going to go to chapter 2 again. We're going to go to chapter 22. 2:22. Hey, what's that all about? What's that all about?
2 to 22?
2:22. Yeah. What's 22 in our 101s?
22 in the 101s.
Yeah. Read that. Go ahead, read it.
Which is our holy day?
What is our holy day? See that? That's 22. Now love cannot be manifest until its way has been prepared, and naught can rend the rock and bring down lofty hill and fill the valleys up, and thus prepare the way but purity. So when it say the Lord, the hills run down and the valleys brought up, that's called raise. When you raise, like when they say we got to raise the building, you know, they tearing it down, right? They bringing it back level. So nothing can bring you to a level point. Nothing can get you there to that level point that we can build on it, but purity. Okay? So it's saying, that's what it's saying, that you have to get level, even. You have to be raised, meaning made even, so that purity can be set in. Islam? So now go to 26. And when the world is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open up the book and copy from the sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. So we're talking about those sacred pages again. But what's going to be taken off of those pages? It's going to be purity and love, right? So we want to be able to allow love to work for us, but love can't work for us if purity is not at hand. We all understand that? Do we know why? Anybody? Why won't love work if purity is not at hand?
And then the love be corrupt.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. It's corruption. So how are you going to get it in the container? It's not going to work. So there's no way for somebody who think that they're going to die. They don't understand their higher self at all. They just think, oh, I'm going to die and I'm going to hell or I'm going to heaven. That's going to be that, or it's over with. I'm not going to exist no more. Somebody with that mentality, how can you express love to them? Truly what love is. They're not prepared. So purity is missing. Why? Because people been lying to them. They practicing Halloween and, you know, Christmas, all these other things that are breeding, that vanity is breeding into them impurities. So it's going to be hard to get love in that container. So when I say, what about the guy over here in China? Well, I love him too. That's benevolence. What about the brother in Africa? Well, I love him too. What about the sister next to you? What about the neighbor? I love them too. But it's hard if we're not aware of our vanity. It's hard if we don't seek purity. When we speak out of ourselves, when we say, I did this and it caused this thing to happen, that's a process of purifying myself. Because I'm telling to myself, I'm telling it to this lower self that these are the actions that occurred, and it needs to hear it. The lower self needs to hear it. The soul and the body needs to hear these things so that it can move towards purification. We want to level this thing out. Islam?
Islam. So how can we fix vanity in reverse then? So we told you what those things were. How can we twist this thing back to the way it was? Can it be done? Can we twist that and fix that back?
Yeah.
How would we do that? How would we do that? Anybody got an idea? Love, purity of heart. So we have a good thought. So I say, I see that man over there is hungry, right? I know I got enough. I can take care of that. So a thought in my mind is pure, and I say, I'm going to go fix that. Isn't that the opposite? So when we start to think in a manner that's better, we can help them. But oftentimes, when you say, I would give him some money, but he might be strung out. I've been in the car with people, they say, you know what, that guy he's in shambles. I would help him, but see, and then you wait for that. I'd help him, but he don't look like he's really helping himself. See, so then we corrupt our own thought.
Islam.
Islam.
So now we go into chapter 4. That's 1B. Sister, that's 1B. 1 and a B. Right.
It's an I.
All right, you see the one? Okay.
4 is pretty easy.
So the sister got it now, so we're gonna keep moving. We'll keep moving on. So we can start. We're gonna start on it's for number 10. Your mission here is that of a harbinger. For you will go before the Messiah's face to pave his way and make the people ready to receive their king. So it's saying that something has to come before Jesus comes to pave the way. What needs to be there in the people? Because Jesus is the embodiment of what?
Love.
Love, correctly. So something has to come before he came to pave the way, because it won't fit in the people. They're not ready to receive what he has to give. So the people are not ready to receive love. You see? The people ain't ready to receive love. So we must purify ourselves in order to love someone. We have to. So if you think that you're loving someone and we just exposed all this vanity inside of you and you think that you wasn't aware of it, how do you really believe that you're loving somebody? Maybe your concept of love is vain. I just need to buy you a new pair of shoes and I love you. I just need to make sure that you eat every day and that's it. What do you mean you want to hug? No hugs around here. Eat, go to bed. So right, so maybe that might be the vain thing. So it says, and then we gonna read 11. It says this readiness. So we want to get the people ready, right? So 11 it says the readiness is purity of heart. None but the pure in heart can recognize the King. So it's saying here, where's the heart at?
Mind.
Right. So now we confine it and we constrict this thing to something we can get a grasp on. That our mind must be pure. So that means that what? We just only got brains in there? No. The purity is thought. So we want to move the carnal thought. Remember, we have carnal thought. We want to move the carnal thought out and leave thought. We just want thought. Thought is truth. Thought is up. Carnal thought is from our lower self. It's from outside of ourselves. It's only going to breed negativeness, hatred, lewdness, rudeness, and everything that harms. That's carnal, right? That's what it's going to breed. So we want to have thought. So we have to purify ourselves to separate that carnal thought from our true thought, the truth, right? Am I confusing anybody? Let me know, because we can break it down if we need to.
Islam, break it down a little further.
Go ahead, brother.
That's a lot to chew on.
Okay. All right. It says here that in verse 11, it says the readiness is purity of heart, meaning that the mind is not tainted. Let's say somebody come in, for instance, and say, hey, what is this y'all talking about that I'm not going to ever die? You know, and I ask them, well, who are you? Are you your body or your soul, or are you the spirit? And they say, well, I am a spirit. Then I said, then it will never die. So if a person come in and say the opposite, that I am my body, and when I'm dead, I might go to heaven or hell, then you're going to die. Because it ain't going to be nothing I can tell that person till that person come to believe that they spirit. Islam? There's nothing I'm going to be able to tell him. He's going to continue to think that until what? Until he comes to this new information, thus beginning the process of purifying his thought. He's getting away from the thought that's killing him into the thought of life, which is the fact that you are spirit, right? So that's how purification works. So when I say, man, I stole this woman's money and she now can't pay her rent and they putting her out, and I harmed her, and now she out on the curb and her kids out, God, may you forgive me for this. This is terrible. You know, when I say that, now I'm purging myself. I'm bringing my lower self into line. I'm purifying myself. I'm getting that junk out, and it's cleaning up. other people gonna come to me and tell me greater things, right? Islam, anybody else? We good. So now if we go on, it says the purity of heart. None but the pure in heart can recognize, none but the pure in heart can, none but the pure in heart can recognize the king. So once you get that clear, that purity in your mind, your thought, once you have that there, now you can recognize other people that actually love themselves. You recognize truth easily. It's no big problem for you. But until then, it's hard to discern if somebody is truly lying to you or not. It's hard to discern before that point. But once you get to that point, it's almost irrelevant that they're lying. Because it's not going to change or alter you one bit. You still going to provide the truth regardless. So let's say I go to court and they ask me, hey, did you kill that person? And I did do it. Well, I'm not telling them that. So I'm going to lie. Now, they need me to tell the truth so they can put me in jail. So I'm not going to tell the truth at that time. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm still flesh. I'm still flesh. This is an understanding. We have to have clarity in this. It's not just the higher self that we're dealing with. We're dealing with the lower self and we're trying to bring it to a balance. But we're not going to be retarded with it. We're not going to go out and do something in our higher self thinking we're not going to have to pay the price. Right? So we deal with our vanities and try to maneuver ourselves into a balanced position. Because I got to eat, don't I? I do need to live in a house, and I would rather have more than one pair of shoes. So my vanity is there to an extent, and it's usable. Because that's who I am. It's just when we're not aware of it, it causes these problems. So the purity of the matter is, who am I? All right? Now, we go on to 12.
Twitter?
What you say?
12.
12.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we in chapter 4. We on verse 12. To teach men to be pure in heart, you must yourself be pure in heart and word and deed.
Islam. So to teach man to be pure in heart, they're going to learn from you. And you're going to learn from them if they're pure in heart. So that's going to be your actions and how you act in the community, how you act amongst your friends. I can meet you the first time, and I know if you're right about how you do things or if you're wrong. It's that simple. Why? Because we can recognize it after a time we've been around each other and I spend time with you. It's one of those things. I went to the grocery store and saw a friend and she turned to the side, and what she said to the child that came out of her mouth, the child jumped. So in her deeds and her actions, we know if we would have been standing there what the result was going to be, right? I don't even have to assume. The child said. Islam.
Islam. I just gotta say that, you know, people that's in pure heart come in so many different forms. It don't have to be like somebody with a fez or kufi or a head wrap. I've met so many people with pure hearts, man, that I really believe they say the world's so bad. But I met people with pure hearts from different nationalities, ethnicities, backgrounds, like the scariest dude that everybody's scared of had the best heart sometimes. You feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I also wanted to just say that I remember a story from the Bible. And in the Bible, the Holy Bible, it said that, I don't remember the dude's names and all of that, but it was a dude. And he wanted to follow this other guy around, right? And he was like, yo, if you follow me and I go do whatever I do, don't be asking me a lot of questions. And every time he did something, dude was questioning why you do that. And in the end, he told him, bro, I told you before you start kicking it with me, don't ask me all these questions. The reason why I did anything, and he told him all the reasons why he did what he did. But at the time, he was judging them like, I can't believe he just did that to those people and all of this stuff. But everything he did, it had a purpose behind it. So you can't really be too judgmental of people. We can see stuff and we can see and we can think that person is this way, and they don't.
That sound like his name is Junious David.
Well, the story that the brother is talking about was Moses, and Moses thought that he was the most learned because he was engaged with Allah. So he told him to, at the point where he lose the fish, that would be the point that he would meet, which is called Kadir, something call it, the green one. Melchizedek. They say that that's the same person. So when he came to the point, the little boy forgot to tell him that the fish jumped out the basket and swam away. So that was the point where he lost the fish. So he came back to that point and he found him there. And so he said, you will not be able to keep your tongue. And he sunk a boat. The people gave him a ride across the river. And so he sunk the boat. And he said, why did you sink the boat after they gave you a ride? And he said, well, I'm going to, he said, I told you you can keep your tongue. He said, okay, I will. They went to the next one. It was a wall sitting up, and the kids was running up to see what was exposed was gold. So he pushed the wall over the gold. He said, why would you do that? And the kids they orphans, and they would have used the money for that. The point being, and it's a long story, is that what he's saying is that person was doing those mean things because he was protecting them. The wall was pushed over because the people that was guarding their guardians would have spent all the money up, and they wouldn't have been able to get nothing done. There was a tyrant coming down the river. So while they was fixing their hole in the boat, the tyrant was able to go by. That would have killed them. So the point being is that that he's saying that people, they may be doing something that you perceive as bad, but ultimately is good. You know what I'm saying? So, but we can't make that call. That is not on us to say, okay, well, I'm gonna kill him today because he's gonna be a tyrant tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't be able to see that, but that's the point that he's making. But go ahead.
Also, it's the point of the purity of the heart, because you would look at somebody and you judge them, you would not know the level of purity in their heart.
Right.
You don't know. He could be selling all kinds of whatever, but you don't know what he's doing.
Well, I think maybe we have what we're talking about is probably two different things. Right. When I'm saying purity of heart, we're talking about the purity of mind, that your thinking is going to be the thoughts that are the thoughts of one, which is the thoughts of Allah, as opposed to how I feel about something and how I act out according to the emotion involved, which is my lower self. Yeah, and our vanity causes us to do that. We may see somebody, and just because the way they look, we make a judgment that they're not going to be nice people. You know, like you were saying. So that's definitely absolutely correct. You know what I'm saying? What we're alluding to is the proper education. Islam, the study of self, is that thought. And that thought raises up here. And that's the pure thought that we need to lead and guide ourselves by. Without that pure thought, we're going to be just like the beast in the field. We're going to be dealing with only our lower selves and desires and needs. We can't elevate ourselves if we don't have this pure thought. Islam? So that's the difference. But if you want to look at that story, that's a wonderful story to read. You'll like it, I'm pretty sure, the one he brought up about Moses. So I don't think I read it in the Bible, though. I think I read it in the Quran.
It's in the Bible. Yeah. Also, because his name is Aram, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look at it because I don't think I read it in there, but I'm gonna look it up. So has anybody got any questions about purity or vanity? And can you see how if you don't center yourself, if you don't bring yourself to an even ground, that purity is not there, then there's no way for you to get love. There's no way for love to be set in you because you're going to be confused. Like I say, most people, the concept of love is in vain. That's why they're willing to kill themselves to make sure that their child have a new coat, have the latest pair of shoes. But they'll let them go to school and let people tell them anything and bring an impure state of mind home. Let them socialize with anybody and bring an impure state of mind home. Don't spend no time trying to purify their child's mind, but they spend all of their time trying to put clothes on their child's back when the body is not the person. The truth is inside of the person. So you need to clothe that with purity and love. And the new Jordans won't do it. You know what I'm saying? A new diamond bracelet won't do it. Even though she'll take it, Chris, if you get it. But you're right. You get your product going on. It's not. Cut it out. Leave your sister alone.
It's okay. I see them blue shoes, but I see them tennis shoes too.
Right. What's going on? What's going on with that? So is there any questions? Anybody any questions? Or we can close out. We will, as usual, we'll hang out a little bit. If you got any questions that you want to discuss privately or anything that you just want to questions, we can ask them after we close out because we're a little bit over now.
Islam. So we'll rise and we'll face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah. Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Through Ali. Amen. Stay standing for the last one. Allah bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. This we ask in our holy name in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam.
Islam.